Hey, how are you? Well, this is going to be really a pretty simple project. I'm combining a beautiful piece of wood with a piece of secondhand furniture that I bought. And this is such a unique piece of wood. This is a highly figured piece of white oak. And I bought it years ago, and I really just bought it because I loved the board. But I haven't had any use for it because it's such a unique piece of wood. And so what I'm going to use this for is the seat for this bench. Let me just show you the bench first. This is something I picked up for a couple bucks at a second-hand shop, and I think when it's all said and done, it should look really nice. So let's just take a quick look at the bench first. This is the bench, and you can see that it's really not very strong, and that's because the previous owner tried laminating together two pieces of 3/8 plywood, and they didn't do a very good job, so there's no rigid strength. But I think a piece of 3/4 inch oak will be more than strong enough and will be a nice way to show off that board. The bench seat needs to measure 13 3/4 inches wide, and the board only measures 9.5 inches wide, so I'll have to add to it. And with this project, this is the first and really the major design decision, and I thought about maybe using walnut on the outside with the figurative board in the center, but then I thought that might be too much of a contrast, and so I decided to go with just white oak on the outside. This one piece happens to have a nice piece of sapwood, so I'll rip this board into 2 1/4 strips and then join all three boards together with the figurative board in the center. I've cut the boards to a rough length and width, and now I'm going to join them together to make the top. I am going to use the biscuit joiner to join the boards, and there's a little controversy there. Some people really don't like biscuit joiners. I find that it makes joining the boards much easier. The one problem that you can have is the biscuits can telegraph through the wood, which means if you were to look at the top in a certain light, you could actually see where the biscuits are in the wood. And that's happened to me once. And the way I avoid that now is I set the biscuit joiner very deep, so if the biscuits were to telegraph through, they would telegraph through the bottom and not the top. Okay, well, I finished gluing up the wooden seat, and I used a damp rag, well, a little sawdust first and then a damp rag to get rid of any glue. And while that's drying, I'm going to move on to making wooden clips that will attach the steel base to the seat. There's a 3/8 inch steel rod that runs the length of the steel base, and I'm going to make a clip that saddles that steel rod. And basically I want to make something that looks kind of nice. So I'll cut this out on the bandsaw first, and then I'll round it over a little bit more with the belt sander. And once it's Once it's all cut out, then I'll pre-drill and countersink holes through the top, and the clip will saddle the 3/8 rod holding the base to the seat. I have 2 cherry blocks that measure 2 3/8 by 3 1/2, and the first thing I'm going to do is notch this area out using the table saw and my crosscut sled. And that fits pretty nice. I just like the way that cradles this rod. Now I'll bring it over to the bandsaw and soften up the lines. It's been a few hours and I've unclamped the seat, and now I'm going to cut it to length. I've wrapped the end with a little painter's tape to help prevent tear out, and I've decided to cut the ends at a 15-degree angle for a design element. And to make that cut, I'm going to use my circular saw jig and my circular saw. The bench is definitely a lot stronger, and I really like the way it looks. I like this combination of wood and steel, and it's getting me pretty excited to start welding again. So hopefully by this spring I'll have my welding studio set up and I'll be ready to go. If you have any questions on this project, just leave them in the comments and I'll answer them on Tuesday. If this is the first time visiting my channel, please subscribe, and the thumbs up is always appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Put a 15-degree angle, basically. 15-degree angle from the top down. So basically, what? Please subscribe, thumbs up.